Good morning, grade 10s. Hopefully things are going well with you guys this morning. Give me those green check marks to let me know that you are alive and awake and ready to go this Wednesday morning. Perfect. Awesome. Josh L, Josh B, Costin, you there? Give me those green check marks. Perfect. All right, you guys. So I was just telling Mr. Ross this morning about how I wanted to create this like amazing, fantastic lesson on what's been going on like in the last couple of days in BC here with the election and politics, and because it's crazy right now. I don't know if you guys are watching the news, but you know, the NDP and the Green have formed an alliance, and Christy Clark, not yet, but potentially could be no longer our premier. And so I was like, oh, I need to create this big lesson around this and get you guys involved. And then I didn't get home till like 9 o'clock last night. And I was like, I still have to create a lesson for tomorrow. And that went out the window. So hopefully, maybe next week we'll do something around what's happening currently. But as of right now, I just couldn't handle it, you guys. This is real life. Sometimes it just doesn't work out the way you want, okay? So hopefully you guys had a good night last night. And we'll just get started here, all right? So in the agenda today, no like new announcements, you guys, just constant reminders, right? Keep checking the calendar on that home landing page, okay? Make sure you've jotted down the dates of when your science exam is, right? When the last day of classes are, when mark cutoff is, okay? Be checking your grades on a daily basis, okay? I have really caught up on my grades. I think I've only got like one assignment left, and then everything should be caught up for you guys currently for social studies, okay? So be aware of that. Any other questions, you guys? Do you have any questions around year-end procedures? What's going on? Or are we good? Are we all clear? Give me a green check mark if you know when the science exam is, we're good to go, all those things. Excellent. Good. I'm just going to wait a second because it looks like Josh might have a question. Eric, are you good? Give me those green check marks. Jesse, Kyla, let me know that yes, you know when like the science exam is and last day of class and all of that, right? Josh, we will chat about that in a second, later. All right. Good morning, Madison. All right. Kyla, I wanted to do today because we are moving on, but if you can get it in by the end of the day, that's totally fine. Okay? Excellent. Okay, so here we go. Just like any other day, you guys, we're going through our lesson plan. And starting with an introduction, we're going to introduce you to the actual topic of polling and what that means, what that is. We're going to acquire some knowledge, so I'm going to have to yak at you guys for a couple of minutes, get you guys some terminology and some knowledge around opinion polling. Then we're going to apply the knowledge. This is going to actually take us for today's class, and then we might have to address the outcome of our poll on Monday, okay? So it won't take up the whole class on Monday, but we're gonna have to come back to this because we're gonna create our own opinion poll, all right? And then we'll do some assessment and some reflection as well. So here's your learning targets for this morning and for the next couple of classes, you guys, is that you can assess the methodology of an opinion poll for validity. So what that means is when we go through our own and create our own opinion poll, right? And when we look at other questions as examples, are they really valid, okay? Are they something that is going to tell us what is relevant that is happening in an election? All right. You can assess the justification for competing accounts after investigating points of contention, reliability of sources, and adequacy of evidence. Okay, so we're going to look at different opinion polls, right? Because there's lots of different companies out there that run different opinion polls. Okay, and can those be reliable sources, right? And can it have reliable evidence? And you can analyze the methods used by the media, the government, and other important groups to influence public perception of an issue or event. All right? All right, so that is where we are for learning targets, you guys. Now, have you, and this is just going to be a quick little give me green check mark or a red X. Have you ever taken a poll or a survey, any type? Have you done it through an email? Have you done it for a store? Because I know sometimes when you go to a store, right? Yeah, okay. And then tell me, what was it for? So Costin, a poll is very much like a survey. So you're asked some questions and you give your answer. Oh, so a lot of you have done it as a school project. Okay, good. Yeah, Jonah, that's the one. Yeah, those are the ones that I do too, right? Those customer service surveys, right? And then you get a chance to win like $500 at the store or whatever. Yeah, some online quiz stuff for sure. You know, even for planning, right, you guys? I made you do those career surveys, right? And you had to go through and it asked you a bunch of questions and you had to like rank yourself on those things. So a poll and a survey is very, very, you can interchange that terminology, all right? So just be aware of that. So it looks like the majority of you guys have a good grasp of what a poll and a survey actually is. Okay, so that's kind of where we're going, but now we're going to apply that to the election and to elections in general and to the government. Okay, why do they poll? Why do they poll people? Okay, so here we go. We're going to do a quick little survey, okay, you guys, or a poll with yourself. Okay. If I were to ask you this, and we're going to do something a little bit different here, instead of on the whiteboard, okay? Actually, no, we can use the whiteboard. Let's do that. Okay, we're going to give you guys whiteboard privilege, and then I am going to bring up, I'm actually going to copy this so that I can easily access the whiteboard here. Just move this for a second so I can get my text box. Oh, it didn't work. Let's see if I can go back and try again. So this question that I want to ask you guys, no, it seems to not want to copy. Oh, is that, you think that's what it is? Oh, Mr. Ross, you are so smart. And I didn't get all of it. All right, so, it's not working. All right, so if the election were held today, you guys, which party would you support? And this is what I want you guys to do. because now you all have access to the whiteboard, right? So what I want you guys to do is, oh, somebody changed it for me. Thank you guys. You're so sweet. All right, so what we're gonna do is now let's create some other labels, and maybe somebody else can do this for me, because again, apparently I'm technologically challenged this morning. I need the 3 parties listed. So we need to have liberal, right? And then I'll just want to make that bigger. If someone wants to do the Green Party, right? And if someone wants to do the NDP, that would be fantastic. And kind of just bold your text, you guys, and make it big enough that we can all see it on the actual live classroom screen. Awesome. All right, and then what I want to do, all right, so we don't need to worry about this liberal. I'm just going to delete this one, you guys, because we only need the one. We just need the three, you guys. Okay? All right. Thank you for doing that, you guys. So here we go. Now what I want you to do, though, is put a check. If the election were held today, which party would you support? Just put a check mark under which one you would vote for. Ah, see, Costin, haven't done your homework then, because we've been talking about this, what each of them do support, okay, and what their party platforms are, okay? Okay, so, okay, then let's do this. Let's do this, because I don't want to leave anybody out, and because actually you guys still represent a true population. So let's do this, Costin and Eric. What you guys are going to do is I'm going to add one more. I'm going to add undecided. Okay? And if you feel that you just cannot, you don't have the knowledge, you don't, right? You don't, or maybe you don't agree with any of them, right? Maybe make a check under undecided then. Okay? Costin, that's a big check mark. All right, so we've got, really quickly, under green, I've got 2. Under NDP, and remember you guys, you can only vote once, right? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm only counting the true check marks because otherwise you've ruined your ballot. Liberal, I've got 3, and then undecided, I've got 1. Okay, so that's the first question, okay? So now here is the second question. Let me just bring up my PowerPoint again, you guys. Okay, so again, now I want to know, okay, are you a strong supporter of this party? Or is there a chance you will change your mind? Okay, so we're not going to go back to the whiteboard. What I want is in the room chat. Think about where you sit. Are you a true Liberal supporter? Are you a true NDP supporter? Or is there a chance that you might change your mind? Okay, so yeah, Costin, this one might not be applicable to you, right? So in the room chat, there you go. So good. Eric, whichever one, you could easily change your mind. You could change your mind. Good, Jonah. Who else? Are you a strong supporter or could you change your mind? Interesting. Good. I'm just going to wait. I see Madison and Kyla. All of you guys. all of you guys could change your minds. That is super interesting. So let's go back. Now, I believe my next question, if I remember correctly, is who would be your second choice then? If you did change your mind, who would it now be? Okay? And again, you guys, let's just type it into the room chat. So if your mind was changed, who would it actually be for now? So basically, who would be your second choice? Let me move the chat window here over a bit so it looks a little bit good. Good, interesting. So Jonah would go Liberal. Jenna would go NDP. Good. Madison, NDP. Good. Interesting. Interesting. Okay, good. Okay, so now here is where I'm at with you guys. So just let me head back to my PowerPoint. All right, so I quickly tallied the results, right? Okay, so really, if you think about our class, okay, did any of the results really surprise you? Because if you look at, say, our whiteboard, right? When we looked at who you would have voted for right away, right, you guys, when we take a look at our whiteboard, do you think these results really surprise you? So Liberals had 4, NDP had 4, Green Party had 2, and there was 1 undecided. Did that really surprise you, or is that kind of like, that's kind of normal? Yeah, I think it is too, guys. Considering that the NDP and the Liberals are basically your 2 major parties, right? It's not surprising that they got the most votes from you guys, right? If you were to vote, okay? But what surprised me, can I tell you what surprised me though? I thought actually more of you guys, just from previous conversations, previous assignments that we've done when we talked about the environment and stuff like that, I thought actually a lot of you would have voted more green. That actually surprised me that only 2 of you chose to vote green. So that's interesting, right? That was what was surprising to me. Because I just find a lot of that younger generation are turning more towards the Green Party, right? All right, so here is the provincial results, though. Now, this was done, though. This was a poll, okay, you guys? This was done on May 8th, so this is not the final outcome. This was a poll that was taken, okay, in May 8th. So basically, a couple of weeks before we actually, no, the day before we voted. We voted on May 9th. So this was just the day before we voted, okay? So you can see that along the bottom there with those circles, that is where those are the different parties, right? And I'm showing you all of British Columbia, okay? So this was in a poll taken of all of British Columbia, okay? And this is the support that each party got. All right, so you can see still, isn't it funny that, so the Greens, right, are right down below, okay? And undecided is still huge, right? Undecided is that black line underneath the NDP and Liberal. So this is your NDP, this is your Liberal, and then this is the undecided line. That's pretty big, right? That there were a lot of people that were still undecided right before the election, okay? So that's super interesting, whereas we only had Costin, okay? So the results were a little bit different in ours, okay? And ours were a little bit different because really there was no separation between NDP and Liberal, right? They each got about 4 votes, right? So here is, are you a strong supporter of the party, right? Or is there a chance that you would change your mind? This is the Liberal camp. So you can see within the Liberal, the people who are voting for Liberal, 78% of them were strong Liberal supporters, right? And then the yellow showcases willing to change, right? They might change their mind. And there was that 3% that were still not sure, okay? So you guys, almost all of you said that you would change your mind. So most of you guys would be in that yellow section, those of you that were voting Liberal, right? Here's the NDP, okay? Not as strong support, right? They were at about 68%. And they were still quite a large section that would change their mind, and a 10% of not sure. And then there's the Green support as well, okay? So strong was at about 53%. So you can see, right, that within these graphs that are showcasing, there's still a lot of movement that could occur between parties, okay? And then these next couple of images, you guys, are that second choice. So within the Liberal camp, right, the second choice, the biggest choice, look at that, they would be undecided, right? But isn't it funny that the Liberals, those, if they had a second choice, they were going to go green. 35% of them would have gone green. But then 34% still undecided. Okay, so those were the Liberals if they had to choose a second choice. And look, again, green is huge on NDP. So both Liberal and NDP, if they both had a second choice, they were going to vote green. Isn't that interesting, right? Heaven forbid they'd want to vote for each other. So that is the votes for, that was all of BC again still, right, you guys? So why do you think the results from our quick little tally that we did, our little poll, why do you think they were the same or were they different? Okay, and what factors could really impact the results of a poll? Think of that just even in general, not even just specifically to this poll. I just want to do a quick little think, pair, share. So just take 1 minute. You're not even partnering up yet. I just want you to think on your own about those 2 questions. Okay, 1 minute, and then we're going to come back. We're going to partner up and then discuss and then share out to the rest of the class. So just 1 minute on your own, you guys think about those 2 questions. All right, perfect. Now let's partner up. So can you guys just raise your hand? Let's get a good mix of partners for today. Awesome. Good. Costin, Eric, Josh B, raise your hands, please. All right. All right, here we go. And now I'm going to switch it up even more. So here we go. I'm actually going to go Kyla and Eric. Okay, can you guys partner up, please? Jonah and Costin, you guys are going to partner up. Josh L and Josh B. Jesse and Connor. Madison and Leeds. And then Jenna, you get me. All right? So that's going to be your partners for today. Okay? So now let's just take, 2 minutes. 2 minutes to discuss those two questions. What do you think the results were, the same or different, between our class poll and the actual provincial poll? And what factors can impact the results of a poll? All right? So go ahead and 2 minutes to discuss. Go. Sorry, you guys. I'm just having a good conversation. And I'm just reading what everyone's writing here. So I just want to make sure that I'm awesome. So just finish up what you guys are writing there. Okay? I don't want to cut you off. Good. And as you're just finishing up your conversations, you guys, as you're finishing up the conversation, and that's okay, Jenna. I get Mrs. Ward's messages as well. What I want you guys to do now, though, is from your conversation in the room chat, okay? I want you just to share out to the room, what was the most interesting piece of information that you learned from the discussion with your partner, okay? That's what I want from you guys. So let's just take a minute and just in the room chat, that's what I want you guys to put in there. What was the most interesting piece of information that you learned from your partner? You guys came up with some really good reasons around what affects polling and what can impact polling. You guys came up with some great reasoning around that. Yeah, absolutely. Jesse, can you go a little bit deeper? What do you mean by the poll size? What do you mean by that? Perfect. Good. And you even went and now added on to that answer as well, right? Absolutely. So the size or the demographic that people poll, right? How many people you asked? Because even if you compare, let's take a look at the poll we just did, right? We asked the same questions that were asked of, and I actually don't know this answer. It wouldn't have been all of British Columbia that they polled, right? It would have been a sample size, okay? But I'm assuming that number would have been in the 10,000s, okay? Somewhere in there. And they would have sampled from all over British Columbia, right, Jesse? And that's what you're talking about, in the same place. They wouldn't have just polled Greater Vancouver. They wouldn't have just polled Kelowna, okay? They would have sample sized all over British Columbia, okay? Whereas here, our poll consisted of how many people are in class today, right? So how many? How many do we have? Like 11, okay? So there is going to be a difference in our results, okay? So that's really good to pick up on, okay? Absolutely. Sometimes, Madison, when you're, it depends on what happened that day, right? You might be in a bad mood. Something happened even politically that could have been influenced by the government that day. And then you're like, oh, darn that government. I don't like them anymore. I'm changing my mind, right? Yeah, absolutely, Madison, for sure. I think talking to people can change your mind. One of you mentioned, I can't remember who it was, one of you mentioned, right, education. If you're not educated enough about the issues, right, that's going to affect polling, right? You could just say, yeah, I'm going to vote Liberal, right? But you might not really vote Liberal, okay? So we got to be careful when we're looking at the results of polling, okay? Is really what I'm coming up to with this lesson, you guys. Okay? Good. So, really, what is an opinion poll? That is the name that we use when we talk about polling in politics. We talk about opinion poll. Okay? An opinion poll is a question or a series of questions designed to measure the public's views on a specific topic or several issues, just like we did with you guys, right? If you were to vote today, which party would you vote for? Okay, that sort of thing. Then they could also ask questions about issues, right? And usually it's put on a scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree, right? And in between would be neutral. What are your feelings on the building of the Site C Dam? Okay, that sort of thing. Those are some questions that would be asked, okay? Public opinion can change from one day to the next, just like you guys said, right? So the results present just a snapshot of views and attitudes at any given point in time. That's super important to remember, okay? Now, there's a couple of different types of polls that occur during election time or leading up to elections, okay? There are two types, usually issue polls. These focus on assessing the voters' feelings on issues of the campaign and proposed policies. So those polls can be used to get the voters' feelings around healthcare or around education or around the economy, right? Those are issue polls. Preference polls, which are actually sometimes referred to as horse race polls, this is in relation to the leader or the party or the most favorable candidate at the time. So this is specific to people and the party. So when I asked you guys, right, who would you vote for? Liberal, NDP, Green, or undecided? That would be a preference poll, okay? So there's a difference there. Now, we got into this a little bit. The accuracy of polls. A poll only uses a sample of the population, and therefore it will never be 100% accurate, right? Because we're not asking every single person in the province. We're using a sample size, okay? Just because of the time and resources it takes to poll, we don't have the money to do that. There are many aspects that affect the validity of a poll. So is it reliable? Can we rely on the outcome of this poll to really put all our trust into it? Number one is method for selecting respondents. So who's choosing who they poll, right? The number of actual individuals surveyed, that's that sample size. The wording of a question. This is super, super important. We've talked about bias all throughout social studies and even through English, right? The wording of a question can be biased almost, right? So we need to be super careful when they are wording their questions, okay? When respondents are surveyed, the timing, okay? And Madison, that goes back to your point, right? I know when people phone me at dinner time with a poll, I just want to hang up on them. I don't have time to do a survey when I'm trying to feed my kids, get chores done, think about next day, finish up work, right? All those things. So timing is important. And also the attitude of who is asking the questions, okay? Are they nice and polite? Are they just gruff, right? Someone who you actually want to talk to, okay? Now, the margin of error describes how close we can reasonably expect that survey to reflect the views of the entire population. So sometimes when you see a poll come out on the news or whatever, they'll talk about that margin of error, maybe plus or minus 3%, okay? That's that margin of error, okay? So here's an example. So Insights West, which is a company, right, that does polling, conducted an online poll that led up to the BC election about the parties and leaders. So it was a horse race poll, okay? The survey was conducted from April 5th to the 8th among 801 adults. So they only sampled 801 adults. Again, what is the definition of an adult? First of all, that's what I would like to know. What age does that encompass? So the margin of error was plus or minus 3.5 percentage points, okay, with a confidence level of 95%. So you can see in the graph, you guys, this was the results from that poll, okay? So at that point in time between April 5th and April 8th, 40% of those 801 adults were going to be voting NDP. Looks like about 38 were voting Liberal, and about 20% were going to vote Green. but there was a margin of error of plus or minus 3.5 percentage points. So really, when you talk about that NDP, you know, we could be talking about more like 43.5 or 44.5%, right? And all the way down another 3.5%, right? So then we're talking about that, you know, 36% mark. So each party would be up or down 3.5%, 19 times out of 20. That's what that 95% confidence level means, okay? So the lead by the NDP is not large enough. This is the conclusion that they came to, that the lead by the NDP was not large enough to be conclusive. And it's even possible that the Liberals would have more support, right? If that margin is correct at 3.5%. So you really have to take in consideration that margin of error as well when you're looking at polls, okay? Now, how do you think, I know this has been cut off, sorry you guys, but how do you think opinion polling can influence the decisions made though by political parties and voters, okay? I want to take just 2 minutes, and with your same partner, okay, same partner, let's discuss this. How do you think opinion polling can influence the decisions made by political parties and voters? Okay, go ahead, 2 minutes. Good. Sorry, I'm nodding because me and Jenna were chatting, and I'm nodding at Jenna. Yes. All right, so into the room chat, you guys. Again, just type in, you know, one thing into the room chat that you really connected with, okay, with your discussion with your partner. Around that. How can opinion polls change how parties come from a different angle for their campaign, and how could it change the voters' viewpoint as well? Yes, that's what I was nodding at with Jenna. Yes, absolutely. If you see on the news that all of a sudden, there's 70% of people are voting Liberal and you were voting something else, ooh, maybe I want to change my mind, right? I don't want to waste my vote or something like that, right? Yeah, absolutely, Jesse. Yeah, exactly what I was talking about, right? Like, don't phone me during dinner time, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. It can also change political parties' platforms, right? If they see that they're gunning their whole political platform and their campaign on, say, the economy, and that's where their focus is and that's where they're going, but then they find out that in an opinion poll, actually education is much more of a pertinent issue that's occurring in our population right now, they might have to switch gears, right? And address those issues, okay? Yeah. Yeah, it's so good, you guys. Let me just bring up my PowerPoint again here. Good. Now, this is what I love too. I love this image. The methods of opinion polling have changed in recent years, okay? In the past, polls were actually conducted by telephone or actually face-to-face, all right? So that telephone still occurs, but not as often, okay? Because of the advances in technology, polling has obviously become easier, faster, less expensive. So polls are conducted online, social media, through our phones, right? These polls can be hard to judge accurately and are not always entirely representative of the population, as participants tend to select themselves then to participate, rather than through the random or targeted selection, right? So for example, if somebody sent me an email and said, hey, could you fill out this poll, right? There's more of a chance that I would just delete it and not even do it, versus if someone showed up on my doorstep or even phoned me, right? Then I would feel almost more obligated to do that. So just know that there's different tactics now. Now maybe with being more online, companies are now sending out way more emails, right? To try to get to that sample size that they want, right? Because some people are just gonna hit delete, okay? Now, media groups often ask pollsters. Pollsters are those companies, okay, that run these polls, or they can actually be the individual people that work, okay, they're called pollsters, to conduct polls on behalf of them so that they can share the views to the public and to encourage discussion during the campaign. So you will see, for example, Global News will ask pollsters, right, to do a quick little poll for them. Or CBC will do the same thing, okay? So media groups definitely run polls themselves to get that information out to the viewers, okay? Versus political parties also conduct internal polls to help them make those strategic decisions, whether they should focus on a particular issue or should they start concentrating on specific districts, different regions in the province that they maybe lack support in, and that's where they want to target their focus, okay? So you can see in this image, you guys, this is just a quick little poll that was done, right, by Global News. And which leader is most trustworthy, okay? So this would be that horse race poll, right? Because now we're actually talking about a person, okay? So, and look at that. So not even, we're all pretty split down the middle, right? 50% actually chose somebody and 57% didn't even choose anybody, right? So is this a really reliable poll? It could be reliable, but it paints a very interesting story that our voters are truly not, and maybe this depended on when this poll happened, right? When, was this early in the election? Was it late in the election, right? Or the campaign, sorry, not election, in the campaign, right? Maybe people were still undecided, so they just said unsure, right? That sort of thing. And it's interesting going to the wording of that question. Which leader is most trustworthy, right? Goes back to that wording, okay? So what, maybe people have different definitions of what trustworthy is. What does trustworthy actually mean to you? That's going to fluctuate between different people. That's going to affect this poll, okay? So super, super interesting. These are just some of the Canadian and BC pollsters. Okay, so sometimes when you're watching the news, you'll see, you'll see a media outlet, right? One of the newscasters saying, in the recent Ipsos Reid poll, okay? Now you can be like, oh, I know what that is. Okay, that sort of thing. So these are just some of them that, some of the companies, some of the pollsters that are used here in BC and in Canada. Okay, so we are now on to applying the knowledge. This is the fun part, okay? This is what we're gonna do. We're actually gonna create our own opinion poll, okay, for this election, all right? Post-election, I guess, because it's really already happened, but it'll be interesting to see, okay? So the first step that we need to do, and we're gonna do this now in small groups, okay? We need to determine the target group and our sample size, okay? That's super, super important, okay? So you need to consider the possibilities for comparing the results afterwards across different groups. So we want to get a wide range, right? We want to get different grades or different ages, different groups, different genders, right? That sort of thing. So actually right now, we're actually just going to partner up and brainstorm. And then we'll come back as a group to share ideas and make a final decision. So what we need to do is come up with some ideas around who are we going to target? Maybe we do just want to target youth, right? And maybe, or do we want a wide variety, okay? Because remember, we want to get, and then our sample size. Okay, so how big of a sample do we want to get? Okay, that will be representative. So let's just take 5 minutes, converse with your partner, okay? And then we're gonna come back and we'll share out our ideas and make a final decision around who we wanna target and how big of a sample size we wanna get, okay? Now, Jenna, Kaylin just joined, so you guys can partner up, okay? So let's take 5 minutes, you guys. Go ahead. Okay, come on back, you guys. And I want to focus on number 1. So come on back, give me a green check mark. Perfect. Okay. Here we go. Now, when we talk about the target group, okay, you know, we can talk about, this is totally up to you guys. What we're pretending is that the election has not happened yet. So really, we want to find out, it's up to you guys, how we run this opinion poll. Do we want it to be a horse race poll? Do we want it to be an issues poll? It's completely up to you guys, okay? But our target group needs to be focused, and again, that's up to you. It actually doesn't have to be focused. Do we want a wide range of people, of age group, of different genders, okay? Or do we want to target a specific group? Do we want to target the youth? Do we want to target women? It's up to you guys. So let's start talking about, and how big of a sample size are we going to need to make this relevant, okay, and valid, okay? So in the room chat, let's just discuss that. What do you guys think? Let's start with, who are we targeting? Interesting. Okay, Kaylin, good. There's a start. What do you guys think? Do you like this idea? Do we want to focus on youth? Eric, I can't even see that. Is that a thumbs up? Good. Okay, thank you. Good. I see people still chatting, so I want to get everyone. Sure, why not? Oh, Leeds, you're so agreeable. Okay, so there we go. So Kyla puts a stipulation on that, okay? So there we go. We are going to target youth in our opinion poll, okay? And we're going to target, are you guys good with Kaylin's suggestion of 13 to 26? Okay, so that's who we're going to target. We're going to target age 13 to 26, okay? Kyla puts a stipulation on it though. We need a wide range of, say, type of people, okay? So you want to target, you know, all different types of genders. We're going to target, say, maybe we want to focus on you guys that you're going to focus, you know, people with jobs, people without jobs, right? We want that wide range, okay? Another give me thumbs up. Does that make sense, you guys? I need to be jotting this down. Okay. All right, so our target is going to be youth aged 13 to 26. Okay. Yeah, I don't think it matters, Kaylin. Just a wide range. All right. Now, what about target size, or sample size? How big of a sample size do we need to be valid? Because that's another thing. Are we targeting just Kelowna? Or are we targeting all of BC? I'm sure Kaylin can have his opinion. All right. I'm just throwing this out there, and I don't want to poo-poo on your ideas. I'm just throwing it out there. We are actually going to be doing this poll, okay? So if you are going to do all of BC, that means that we need to be, right? That we need to be taking samples all across BC, right? Does that make sense, you guys? We need to be hitting up all areas of BC. That's why I said this. We want to make sure that we can reasonably accomplish our goal, right? That's where I'm, so like what I would suggest for you guys is maybe we can just stick to Kelowna, right? And then we can take our sample size from Kelowna. So we could say the youth in Kelowna, right, feel this way. Okay, does that make more sense, you guys? And I think that's more of a reasonable chunk than saying all of BC, because that's going to put you guys in a lot of work. Okay, so definitely we want to stick to Kelowna. Now, how many people then, though, should we be sampling if we're looking at Kelowna? Yeah, but how, like, give me a number. How many youth do we need to poll to have a valid, reliable opinion poll? $200, $30, $100? We've got a range, you guys. What's reasonable, do you think? Okay, but Kaylin, okay, so now this is, yeah. Okay, but now let's think about this, because remember who your target group is, you guys. Your target group is 13 to 26-year-olds. So can we target just a school? Right? Okay. But Jonah, if we use KSS, right? Okay, so like 40%, Kaylin, of the population of each of those things. Is that what you're thinking? So you'd need to find what the population of each of those things. Yeah, we're actually going to do this, Jonah. So I want to make sure that you guys are, right, that we're on track to be reasonable here. Okay, so maybe schools are not the option for us. Maybe schools are not the option, right? Because we've got Kaylin in Alberta, we've got Jonah in Haiti, right? Who else could you guys target if you were actually going to poll people? Yep. Okay, so Kyla, good. There's another option. So you could target a school. You could target your work. Jonah, if your parents are under 26, remember who our target is. So if your parents are under 26, You could target them. Absolutely. But how about we expand that? What about family, right? That sort of thing. Okay? I want you guys to think broad, but I don't want you to think unreasonable. Okay? So if our target group is from 13 to 26, you could potentially target a school, but remember, you want a broad range of ages. You want diversity, right? You could target your workplace. You could target your family. Okay, friends, all those, there's some different options there, right? So now it goes back to numbers. How big of a sample do we need? What is reasonable for you guys by Monday? Let's put it this way. I know, Kyla. Let's make it reasonable by Monday, okay? Because I want the results by Monday. How many people can you guys feel that you could each reach out to and ask these questions to? Jonah. And remember too, you guys, we could choose to even do it online as well, right? You could send out emails. It doesn't have to be in person. Okay, so we need to think of it, needs to be realistic, but it also has to be a good sample size, right? So there are 12 of you guys. There you go, leads. Perfect. Okay, so let's yep. So there's sorry, I said there was 12 of you guys in class today. So if there's 12 of you, then if say each of you got 10 results back, right? If we sent out 10 each, that would give us a sample size of 120, right? Do we think that's a fair assessment? But the way that we word it, right, Kaylin, is going to be super important. Eric, yes, you do. Family. My family's really old. Okay, well then you guys tell me, do we need to change our target? Are we not going to target youth anymore? Are we just going to say everybody? So Jonah, what do you mean by that though? Like just our class? Because that's not a good sample size. All right. So okay, so all right, so let's focus, you guys, okay? Okay, so we're gonna open up our target size now to all ages so that you guys can hit up your classmates, your friends, and your families, okay? Jonah, we don't have time unless you want to personally do it, right? Like if you've got friends here in Kelowna from a different school, you can phone them. But we do not have time to hook up with like another class and stuff. Okay? Like, are you thinking like what we did with Boucherie? Yeah, like we could, if you wanted to, you could send out. No, I don't, Jonah. Actually, that's not true. I teach grade 8s. So if you guys want to, but it's on different days. So you'd have to, let me think about that, Jonah. Okay, we might be able to email them and do it online. Okay, so we're opening up the target size to all ages. Okay, and did we decide on a number then? 10 people? 10 people each? Now that we've opened it up? Green check mark. If we've opened it up, good. Okay. Good. Okay, so 10 people each. We're opening up ages. And we're going to stick to Kelowna though. Okay? Let's just make that clear. All right. Now, we need to decide on the purpose and the questions to be asked. Okay? So we need to decide on the questions. So, with your partner, okay? And some demographic questions should be asked. What is your age? What gender are you? That sort of thing. We don't even have to put gender. It's up to you guys, okay? With it, and let's just go same partner just for ease of sake here. I want you to come up with as many questions as you can to share with the class. I'm going to give you guys 15 minutes in partners to come up with these questions. What kind of questions are we going to ask people around their voting preferences? Okay, that sort of thing. Feel free to do some research. See what Google says. Okay? I want you to come up with as many questions as possible. Okay? And again, some of them should be as easy as, what is your age? Okay? We want to have that demographic. Okay? So, go ahead. Let's take 15 minutes, you guys, and work on those questions that we want to ask, and then we'll share to the rest of the room. Okay? Go ahead. Hi, you guys. Sorry, we're running a Lego Bricks for Kids next door, and I had to go check out what the kids were doing. They're doing some cool stuff over there. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, let's do this. What kind of questions are we going to be asking, okay, for our poll? Okay, let's type them out into the room chat. Now, Jonah, that's a great start. Do we really need their name? Because lots of people I don't think will give their names. Okay, but I want actual wording here, people. I want actual wording. And then leads, what we're gonna have to do there is we're gonna have to find some standardized, like it almost has to be like a multiple choice, right? Because otherwise you're gonna get this, like it has to be something that we can measure, right, you guys? So something like, where do you get your information for politics? Or where do you get your information, okay, around politics? Then we'll have to say social media, the news, radio, newspapers, and then we can say other, okay, that sort of thing, right, you guys? Because if we just say, how do you keep up with politics, then it's going to be a wide variety, and we won't be able to tally the results. We've got to be able to tally results. Okay, so same, Kyla, what's your view on what's happening around you with voting and politics? Again, it's got to be something that we can tally, you guys. Okay, so we can ask, what is your age, right? And then we can make an age range, right? We can say 13 to 19, 20 to 26, 27 to so on and so forth, and they can tick the box, right? That sort of thing. You know, what is your gender? Male, female, other, whatever. What political party do you align yourself with? Liberal, Green, NDP, right? Other, we could say independent, that sort of thing. I don't know if we can get into the whys, Kaylin, because you're gonna have a wide, or we can do some of the strongly agree to strongly disagree questions. Okay, do you know what I mean? Like you'll have to come up with some political issue questions and do you agree with? Okay, yes, okay, that sort of thing. Okay, so now that we've defined that, okay, I want you to go back. Yeah, so exactly, what are we trying to find out? Are we trying to find out? Yeah, good point, Jonah, as well. Maybe we need to keep it down to like, 3 major questions besides all the demographic stuff, right? You know what I mean? Maybe we want to keep it nice and short. So Leeds is asking a great question. What are we trying to find out? Are we trying to find out who we think is going to win the election? Are we going to focus on an issue? What are we doing here? Maybe we need to set out our purpose a little bit more here. What do you guys think? What do you guys want to find out? Do you want to find out where people politically align themselves with which party? Or do we want to focus on an issue? Do we want to focus on education? Do we want to focus on healthcare, right? That sort of thing. Do we want to find out more about why they support that party, right? Then we could develop some questions around that as well. What do you guys want to do? Okay, So if that's going to be our focus, right? So we definitely have our age, gender, right? That sort of thing, those demographic questions that we'll ask, okay? So an easy one to ask first is, where do you put yourself, or which political party do you align yourself with, right? And we can have Liberal, NDP, Green, other, okay? There's our first question. What else? Now that you know that you've got to have almost like a multiple choice, you guys, I'm going to give you guys another 15 minutes, okay? And we need to come up with 2 to 3 more strong questions that are focused on the political parties and where do you see yourselves, okay? So we want 2 to 3 more questions that, and again, remember how you're gonna have to align them, right? Either you gotta give them a choice or you gotta give them a strongly agree to strongly disagree, okay? And you've gotta word your questions in an appropriate manner that gets a specific answer that they can either strongly agree or I want, I'm going liberal or whatever. All right, so 15 more minutes, you guys. 15 more minutes, get back with your partner, okay? And again, focus now on those questions. Okay, we need to come up with 2 to 3 more questions besides who do you politically align yourself with, or which party do you politically align yourself with? And that will be our first question, okay? 15 more minutes to come up with a few more questions. All right, go ahead, you guys. All right, good. As I'm watching your conversations, so much better questions. All right. So this is what I'm going to do, and I think I'm going to slow down my process as well. I think what we're going to do is this isn't going to have to be done by Monday. Okay. So we're going to slow this down a bit. So what I would like is, and I'm just going to bring up my PowerPoint just to remind me here of the next steps, because, sorry guys. Okay, so now, because the next step is we kind of have to prepare the survey, right? So this is what I'm going to ask you guys to do. I would like you guys to submit those questions to me by Moodle. Okay, so just in Moodle, in a Moodle message, copy and paste those questions that you have into a Moodle message. And then today or tomorrow, I am going to put those questions into a survey for you guys to do. Okay, now here's what I need though. I need to know whether you guys want to do this online or do you want to do it like paper-based? Do you want to physically face-to-face talk to people, phone people? What do you want to do? Would you rather like email it out to people? Okay. Okay, so here's what we could do to make it easier for those of you that want to do it online or those of you that do want to do it face-to-face. We could do email. So I could make a Word doc, right? That you guys, or we could make it even, we could make it a Google form, I think. And then you guys could actually print it out if you want, right? To ask people. Or you could just do it easily online, okay? And Jenna, you'd be able to email out that link as well if you wanted to, and then people could just go on and just click it online, okay? So I think that might be the easiest way. And I think if we actually do a Google form, you guys, it might tabulate the results as well, which might be quicker. So I'll think of what the actual technology is that we use. I think a Google form would be the best bet and the easiest, okay? So I think that's the easiest way to do that. And then what we'll do is once they're tabulated, once the results are tabulated and we'll collect the responses, okay, then we'll analyze, we'll share the results, and then you guys will have to do a little bit of a reflection piece around that. But we are focusing today on, I want you guys to just Moodle message me all of your questions. That is your goal today. Get those questions to me in a Moodle message, all right? So that I can send that out to you guys so that you can start doing it on the weekend, all right? Okay, so that is all I have for you guys today for class, all right? So we're gonna end a little bit early because you guys worked pretty hard. Your homework today is by the end of today, I want those questions in a Moodle message sent to me. All right, give me a green check mark if that is clear what you need to accomplish. Oh, Jesse, nice work. Good. Okay, so Jonah, I need the message. I need a Moodle message with your questions that you and your partner came up with, okay? In a Moodle message so that I can tabulate all the questions, right? And then get that form out to you guys so that you guys can actually start doing your opinion poll and asking people. All right, good. High fives, you guys. Awesome class today. And we will see you guys next week. All right, bye guys.